What's happening, Wargamers? Welcome to the Dossier, the Marvel Crisis Protocol show where we talk all things Crisis Protocol characters. Basically, we examine the models, take a look at their cards, give some thoughts on their place in the game. Remember, these thoughts are just opinions. There's all sorts of discussion out there that you can go and engage in for any single character in the game. And there's going to be people who have some great opinions and some other people who maybe have some hot potato takes on things.
We are the latter.
We are the latter. And as you can tell, I'm being joined today by Jason from Zetrox Wargaming. A constant friend and guest of the channel.
How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for coming out, Jason. It's always great to have your input and your back and forth on this. And today we're talking about who is probably at the time of this filming the big nuisance character of Crisis Protocol, and that is Frank Castle, the Cosmic Ghost Rider. So let's take a look at his model. And I'm going to start things off, and this is a hot take, and yep. I've annoyed people with it. I don't like his model. I really don't.
I can understand that. He's a goofier model, and his model, I mean, I know you had tons of frustrations putting him together. I love him. I think he looks awesome. He's a really cool design. I do acknowledge that he's definitely not the most stable model in the game, though.
He's not the most stable character in the game either.
That too. But yeah, I do think he looks really cool. I think they really captured the character well with him.
I will agree with you there. They did definitely capture the character. When I say I don't like the model, I feel like there's way too much. Look how springy that is.
Yeah.
There's just way too many parts of this that I feel like I have to be very ginger about.
Yep.
And that always worries me. Especially if I'm traveling or something like that, right?
He is definitely a model where when I put him in my case, I have a little bit of anxiety every time I move, right?
Yeah. I will say this, though. I love that they gave the option of the dome.
Yeah, it is cool.
That's just super. I love the dome. I'm not terribly a huge fan of the character, but I will say, while I don't like the model, they did do him justice.
Yeah.
He's a decently designed model. Even these, as springy as they are, if you're using plastic glue, they are pretty secure on there. Just watch out when you're assembling this. There are actually some grooves in the struts of his bike.
Yep.
That you can actually slot into it, which I was not aware of when I was building this guy.
And even with them, it doesn't feel particularly stable.
No. And the orb is also clear acrylic, so if you want to get crazy with that and do something like translucent, you can. So there's lots of neat design spaces for the model itself that AMG really did. They showed their creativity, and I can't fault them for that. I might not like it, but they showed it, and they kind of did well in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
So let's take a look at his card and find out why he's kind of the boogeyman. So why don't you take us through his stat line here?
Sure. So Cosmic Ghost Rider, he's coming in with 444 defensively, which is a pretty solid line. He's got 9 health. He's a 6 threat. He's going to be considered size 3, and he's got a medium move. So nothing too crazy right out the gate here.
It's also important to note that on his injured side, he does go down to 7 stamina.
Yes, which is a pretty significant drop.
He does lose a little bit, but for a 6 threat character, that is a lot of stamina. That is 16 stamina. I think it's on the upper end of a lot of characters.
Yeah, I mean, you say 6 threat, my mind immediately jumps to the 2 Hulks, but
there's 2 20 stamina characters. Thanos is 15, I think.
Yeah. Look at Magneto, he's 14.
Yeah, he's on the lower end of it.
He's 6'8". So I feel like he's actually probably pretty close to the average when you consider the Hulks. You've got 17 on Hulkbuster.
Does Tony's stamina really count?
I am counting the 4, yes.
I'm sorry, his stamina doesn't count. Hulkbuster has 13 stamina. He doesn't count. He's definitely in the upper tiers of the stamina there, and he's got a very good defensive stat line to back him up. So his basic attack is the Hellfire Blasters. It's a range 4, 6 dice attack for free. It is a gainer for 1 power. It almost looks underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, this model is bound to be very power starved. There's only a gainer. He's not going to have any power to do anything.
He never has power, especially when you look at his next attack here, the Mystic Attack Power Cosmic Penance Stare for range 2, 12 dice at 6 threat.
Sounds like overkill.
Sounds like overkill. A lot of people, as they were slowly revealing this, is you can slowly see people kind of lose their mind on something like this, like a 12 dice attack. I don't think we have any natural dice over 10.
It's 6 power. He's never hitting that.
Yeah, of course not. We're not bearing the lead at all here. But on top of that, no power for damage done
in
this as well, right? So when you hit somebody with this, you are power starving them. And if you happen to hit one of every result on the die except for the blank, you're also getting to ignore their shields and turn them into skulls.
Yeah. So again, we're just going to add some more overkill to this because This is a 12 dice Mystic attack at range 2. Most of the time, this is the delete button.
Yep.
And we'll get into why it is
Yep.
when we get see further in Scarlet 2.
I've had a couple characters on the receiving end of this, and it hurts. It hurts. So we're into its superpowers, and we got an active ability, Interstellar Health Cycle for X cost, where he can spend 1 to 5 power and basically place himself range X equal to the number of power spent, and he can do this once per turn. So he's already moving medium on a medium-sized base, large-sized base, and now he can just like casually place himself anywhere from 1 to 10 inches.
It's only ever going to be a bump in the night, though, because he has no way of generating power.
Oh my goodness! Just everything keeps adding up here. All right, well, Chains of Sidorak here. Let's go into more shenanigans. So this is another active ability for 2 power. Choose an enemy character within 3, a character within 3.
Can do this to your own allies.
You can push this character short, and then that character will gain Incinerate. It's important to note that if the push does not happen, doesn't mean if the push can't, you can't push them any further because they're being blocked. If the push cannot happen, so Indomitable, Stalwart,
Determination,
Colossus, the Incinerate will not happen if that's the case. Yeah. However, it has also been ruled that if you fail to, if you Indomitable this and you can't...
He can try again for another 2 power.
He can try again because he hasn't been affected by it, which is a point of contention for some people.
It's an interesting ruling, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm going to go on record on I disagree with that ruling, but I'm not the guy who makes these rulings. I just yell at the people who do.
Yep.
So, I'm probably going to get yelled at after that one. So yeah, that one's actually kind of wild. Why don't you take Cosmic Justice on Wheels?
Yeah, so Cosmic Justice on Wheels is a 3 cost, and it's basically a got your back. So when an allied character is dazed or KO'd by an enemy effect, after that effect's resolved, he can pay his 3 power, and he immediately gets to shoot them with his little gainer attack there. So I mean, out of activation 6 dice attacks.
Just casually throwing solid. 6 dice around. People were afraid of Bucky when he was throwing 4 dice assault rifle attacks.
Yep.
Now we have a Mook throwing 6 dice.
Hey, that's 8 dice because he can do it twice. Bucky is stronger than this model.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Then we move on to his first of his innates. I am the Spirit of Vengeance, bearer of the power cosmic, and just a bit unstable. And this is that leaf we were bearing. During the power phase, you roll 5 dice. For each hit, crit, and wild, you are going to gain 1 power. If the character has 5 or more power, they're going to gain a Psychosis token, drop all objective tokens it's holding, and then at the start of the next power phase, he's going to remove the Psychosis token. So, I mean, that sounds like a pretty bad negative right there, that you can't hold, contest, all that sort of stuff. But
on the other hand, I'm going to place range 5, shoot you twice, and light you on fire.
yeah, and then on top of that, when you have that lovely little Psychosis token, you're also going to be adding skulls to your results.
Yep. So that's what his ready to roll ability there basically says, is he's going to start the game with it, and while he has it, skulls are good for him.
Yep. And you never really pay attention to how many skulls are being rolled in the game until you run up against this guy.
Well, and that's really part of why, for example, the Power Cosmic Penance there is such a delete button. Is 12 dice counting skulls is insane consistency.
Now, granted, if one of those, yeah, I got nothing on that one. It's especially when you're adding that to his defense dice, he becomes very tanky.
Well, and that's the other thing. That 4449 seems fine for a 6th threat. It's arguably even squishy, but then you count skulls on those defensive dice as well. So now those are just as good as attack dice, and that's really good.
Yep, because basically it's just the blank and the hits.
Yep. So you're 50%.
Yep.
Which is the same as attack dice.
Which is just insanely good. And then, of course, he's immune to everything that matters: bleed, hex, incinerate, and poison.
Which, thankfully, he's a Ghost Rider, so I actually think makes sense for him.
It doesn't make it any less frustrating from a gameplay perspective, right? And then he has flight.
Yes.
So, yeah, with all that, I think it's very easy to see why Cosmic Ghost Rider is kind of like the problem child of MCP at the moment.
He's definitely raising some eyebrows.
And at 6th threat, it's not restrictive to splash him into things.
No, he's definitely not unsplashable. There are places where he's supported a little more than others, because I do think he is unfortunately one of those models where...
Guardians! Excuse me.
He's one of those models where in the right place he's going to do a lot of work, but if he's rolling 1 on that power roll every turn, he's gonna feel a little mediocre.
Oh, then he just has to like lean back on his 6 dice range 4 attack and his ability to incinerate everyone under the sun.
Like I think his floor is slightly below your average 6, but that's not like his average is well above.
Once he gets rolling, he's quite fearsome. And one of the big problems with him is that first off, he can displace your team.
Yes.
You look back at when Thanos had unlimited cosmic portals in a churn.
Yeah.
Like limited only by his power. He basically has that with his Chains of Sidorak.
No, it's great. Well, on top of that, he's lighting them on fire.
Yep, he's lighting them on fire, and so like right off the hop, okay, he's displacing a bunch of your guys, but he can also get to wherever he needs to be.
Yep.
10 inches in this game is a lot. That's almost a third of the board.
For sure.
Once you factor in the size of his base, it is a third of the board.
Yep.
And so like he can very easily ignore cover. He can get around taunts. Like it's just he's just
and he's getting around bodyguards too with that pull, right?
Yep.
So he's getting around a lot of defensive tech. Lighting things on fire is a big skew for defense dice, especially when he's already counting skulls in his attack dice. This model is extremely efficient at picking a model and saying you're going to die now.
Yep. No, he's very good at that. I've only seen him whiff a couple times, and otherwise he's a fairly consistent model. And considering one of his homes is Guardians of the Galaxy, where he almost always has wing it tokens on him.
And that's the big thing is where I say like the factions that support him really support him, and Guardians is one of those.
Yeah. Let's not even get into the whole big dumb hero token that he can get with Galaxy's Greatest. Which will, if he's injured, or it's like, if any Guardian is injured, they can pay up to 4 power at the start of a power phase, the start of the power phase or something like that, and up to 4 Guardians can just add 1 attack and defense die.
Well, so now suddenly he's 5/5/5 counting skulls defensively. He's got 7 dice builders with winging it, or gamers with winging it.
He's crazy. He needs to be toned down. My initial thoughts on being the toned down. I'm going to give 2 that are pretty reasonable, and then I'm probably going to give a third that might anger a lot of people. The 2 that I think are reasonable is Chains of Sidorak needs to be once per turn.
I think that's fair, yeah.
I think his ability to place what's that called, the Cosmic Justice on wheels, I think it needs to be limited to range 3.
That's fair too.
And then here's the one that's kind of the hot take. I don't think his Hellblasters or Hellfire Blasters should be a gainer. I don't think they should gain him any power.
Yeah, I think that, like, my biggest problem with that is it just makes him very susceptible to that initial power roll, where if he's rolling bad, he's basically doesn't.
Oh no, you mean he has a weakness? And that's the thing. Like, and this is one of the problems that we've seen with some of the big problem characters in the game, that the ones that are the biggest issues are ones who typically don't have downsides. They don't have weaknesses. And I'm sorry, not being able to contest objectives when he just murders everything is not a downside. Right?
Yeah, I think to a certain degree, at the end of the day, the model is very susceptible to dice. Having played him a few times now, I find if he's failing to get kills with his attacks, or he's not rolling well on his power, you do feel that lack of contesting objectives. But he is definitely overtuned. He definitely needs some form of toning down.
Generally speaking, if you can stun him, feel good about yourself.
That's the other thing, is stun absolutely ruins him.
Also, if you can judge him. Yeah. How is it the Ghost Rider can be judged? I don't get that, but yeah. So that is the Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's definitely a big boogeyman at the moment. His home affiliations being Guardians of the Galaxy and Black Order. I mean, he likes both of them right off the hop. And
I haven't got to try it myself, but Death's Decree on his attacks would be
no. We're done here. We're done here. We're not doing that. So Cosmic Ghost Rider, he's definitely a topic worth discussing.
Oh yeah.
And shout out below what you think and all that. We're gonna see if maybe December brings a hot fix.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either, but at the same time, it's been very quiet from AMG since the Earth's Mighty Score box. Yep. So we'll see what happens. But that is Cosmic Ghost Rider, a character who, if you want to play him, go for it, have some fun. I will gladly.
He is fun to play.
I'll take your word for him. I played him once. But there you go. Very, very tough character. Very meta impactful at the moment. So we're going to see what happens as we go forward. So leave your comments below. And of course, if you want to support the channel, patreon.com/AegisBandStudios. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.